Those of you that have been following the channel know that back in July, I started work on my dream sim rig build, Cupcar 2.0. The goal was to take 4 months to build the most immersive Cupcar sim rig I possibly could, and then after that, race for a bit, and then get into adapting it to race other cars and still have it be super immersive. Now obviously, 4 months has come and gone. The rig's nowhere near done, and there's still a lot of work to do. In that time though, I did move to a new race room, moved to a new house, remodeled the race room, remodeled the house. There's been a lot of things that have happened over the last 3 months that have kept me from getting back to work on this project. But it's finally time to get back to work. I've got the roof back on, the nets back in. During this video, I want to talk about some different directions I want to head with it, because ultimately, while I love how the roof turned out, the nets are good, there's a lot of things that just didn't quite meet the standard that I wanted for this rig. So we're going to fix some things up in this video. I'm going to talk about some of the projects that I have planned to get this rig build done and kind of share some of the processes with you guys that I'm going through right now. I'm in the middle of printing a new dash. We're going to put the old one back on for now, but I'm going to talk about some challenges with that. And there's just a lot of things to catch you guys up on in terms of Cupcar 2.0. So let's get into it. Now, those of you that have been following the build know that at one point before the move, the rig was fully enclosed. I had the whole side sealed up. I had the driver's side door kind of sealed up. I mean, I hadn't built the new door yet, but I had it all blacked out. It felt pretty immersive inside. As you can see, I have not resealed it. This deck over here on the right side for the passenger seat is going to go away. I've got a whole new plan to rebuild the enclosure on a much more immersive and clean level. So right now, this is just kind of a temporary situation with the rig. And I'll talk about my plans for that in a minute. But first, I want to show you guys another thing that I've improved on since I put it back together. So some of you guys might remember that before the move, this roof was a rat's nest of cables just for the ambient light system. I've been trying to dial in getting the lighting powered properly and getting it cleaned up now. So I've repowered the 256 LED panel and both of the 64 LED panels. And ultimately, one power supply runs the 264s and there's one dedicated to the 256. I don't talk about exactly what amperage to run these at. They are 5-volt panels, but I don't talk about the amperage because I have melted a lot of stuff trying to get this right, and I'm not an expert on it. I do have tutorials on how I built the lighting system, how I've wired it up, but what I won't provide is what power to use. You guys will have to do that research, make your own decisions, because I don't want to be responsible for a fire or something. And just to be clear, the only time these lights are powered on or even are plugged into the wall at all is if I'm immediately using the sim rig, because I still don't trust it. I think I've got it right this time, but I'm still not positive, and I've melted connections and stuff before, and I don't want to risk having a fire in here if I'm not in here. So just some things to share with you guys. Like, mainly wanted to show you how much cleaner the lighting system is, but I think in the POV video you guys will also see a difference in just how clean and clear these things are. So I mentioned early on in the video that I was working on printing a new dash. This is the old dash, and just to give you guys an idea of the challenges I faced with this thing, so you can see this kind of nasty gloss job that I've got going on here. I did try to basically carbon fiber skin it using a unidirectional carbon fiber, and as I started applying it, I realized it still wasn't going to match up with the new 992, and it was going to be a lot more challenging than I was originally expecting. So I'm going to need some different tools if I'm going to get into carbon fiber wrapping. It may not be a part of the Cupcar 2.0 project, but it is something, a skill I would like to acquire. So we may circle back to that. In the meantime though, I'm working on printing a new lower for the dash so I can start redesigning the top, because I'm kind of considering whether I want to have a full dash and not just like the lower half of it, and whether I can make that work or not. Plus, I want to incorporate a second dash to be able to run the GT3 R DDU in it, just because I think it looks really clean and I love like being able to use it, but I want the dash to look better with it on there. So a couple different plans I have for different dashes I want to build, but ultimately this won't be the main dash anymore. We're going to go ahead and get it installed today just to see how it looks though. Now, I've been testing the Moza R25 Ultra for the better part of the last couple months, and it's a good wheelbase, but unfortunately unable to get the dash back on. I need something with the shaft extension, which I just don't have for the Moza. So we're gonna have to go back to the Club Sport DD Plus, which actually has a new feature that I'm looking forward to checking out. So the first step is going to be to get the base swapped. When I first started work on the Cupcar 2.0 build, one of my goals was to be able to remove the roof and all the side paneling and everything and just be able to swap hardware in and out to do different tests and things like that and just have a good rig to showcase gear on. And what I'm finding is when it comes to wheelbases, that's definitely going to be a challenge because unless it's got a shaft extension, I've got to completely rework the deck to be able to test a wheelbase. And once I've done that, trying to get it realigned to fit the dash back in and have everything aligned the way I needed it to, it just becomes a huge challenge. And there's a lot of work and a lot of reworking. And I'm just kind of showing you guys the overall process. But what you don't see is how much extra work went into just trying to get it lined up so that the dash slid back in exactly where it needed to. It's definitely got me thinking a second cockpit might be the way to go for doing gear reviews and testing new hardware. Now with the wheelbase finally installed, I can get into putting the electronics back onto the dash, and quite a few of you have asked questions about the button box in the past. As you can see, it's basically just a plate that slides into the box enclosure on the dash. And for the buttons, I use 16mm arcade style LED backlit buttons. You could pop the little clear caps off and put markers or stickers under there. So I went ahead and did that with some glow-in-the-dark accessory stickers. I think it came out pretty good. As far as wiring goes, it's probably one of the more basic button matrix you could do. It's 5 rows, basically each of the green wires is a row, and then 2 columns with blue wire, and then all of the red and black are tied in together. That's the positive and negative for the LED buttons, and they just run straight to the Arduino board. The only exception is I do have a rotary encoder on here as well. That's just 2 wires to the Arduino and a ground wire. Almost every matrix is made this way, super simple, and because it's only 10 buttons and an encoder, it's far less complex than some of the other button box builds out there. So if you are struggling with too many wires and stuff, this is pretty simple wire up, and it looks decent. Now, as far as installing it goes, I always start with the rotary encoder because that's the hardest part to work with. And I'm going to be very careful, hopefully not to pull any wires, because that is the biggest problem when you do these soldering jobs. If you're not great at soldering like I am, the chances of breaking a lead go up a little bit. And when that happens, it really sucks. So hopefully I can keep that balanced. Still get this tightened. Just trying to find a good spot to hold it by so it doesn't come loose on me. So now that I got the rotary encoder installed, just gonna take my USB cable and pull it through. Should enable me to get my Arduino board in a good spot where I can get it secured so that that doesn't move around. Again, hopefully without pulling any wires. The only reason I really like to make sure the Arduino board is secured is because I don't want to accidentally pull on the USB cable too much and then have that get damaged for the new rebuild. I may actually do a panel USB rather than having a big hole in the back because that could get rather sketchy. Now that it's installed, I just want to plug it in real quick and make sure all the buttons are still working. We got light. That's a good start. Rotary encoder still works. You got button 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Perfect, so everything still works. Now this next part wasn't originally on the rig. This is the Apex Sim Racing Flag Pro V2. They sent this over to me to put onto the Cupcar build when I start putting it back together, and I'm actually really digging it. I just haven't had an opportunity to figure out where exactly it's going to go permanently, and since this is kind of a temporary dash situation, I decided I'm just going to screw it right into the bottom over here. So we'll go ahead and get that installed. Then I've got the air vent that just pops right in. I will be getting the fan reinstalled, so this will be a functional air vent. I'm not going to do it during this video, but here pretty quick, I'm going to have that air vent functional again. And then for the last piece of electronics that needs to go on, forgot the knob for my rotary encoder. Go ahead and pop that guy right on there. And then I have the lap timer, which is just one single screw because anything else would have been a little too complex. Pin that right around there. All right, so this is the full dash with all the electronics installed. I've got the Flag Pro V2, the lap timer, the button box, all ready to go. I just need to throw it on the rig, get the USB cables run, and it should be up and running. We'll be able to take it for a test drive. Now, as I mentioned before, the gloss is absolutely terrible on this thing, and you guys can see it a little better in this lighting, or at least you can see the imperfections a little better. This is going to be completely reprinted with a new filament that I have coming that I think is going to look better. But I'm also going to make some design tweaks. Let me know in the comments if you guys think that I should do the full upper dash build and just leave a hole where the actual screen should show through, like the DDU should show through on the screen. Or if you guys think it's better where I just leave the lower part. I would love to hear you guys' opinion on that. Now let's get this thing reinstalled. The goal of this dash build and any of my dash builds is to make them easy to swap out so that I don't necessarily have to take a bunch of time if I want to race a different car. And ultimately, I want to have probably 3 or 4 cars I can use at any given time. So installing the dash is really simple. Literally just got to get it in the right position and not catch any of my USB cables. And it just slides right in place like so. And then I just got to connect all my USB cables into the different electronics on the dash. I'm not gonna lie, fully installed, that doesn't look too bad. Go ahead and get the net put back in. With all of the electronics installed on the rig, you guys might be thinking that this looks a little bit busy, and to some degree it is, but you guys will see in the POV footage that it actually is quite cohesive once you're racing. Now, you can see I've got the flag, which won't be blinking. It's not as bright and obnoxious when I'm racing. Got my lap timer, button box, got my full digital display with track map, positions, all that stuff up at the top. And then I've got the Stream Deck. And I mentioned early on in the video that Fanatec had something new that I wanted to check out. And that's actually the Stream Deck plugin for Fanatec, which now allows you to use the Stream Deck to control the wheelbase's force feedback, which means I can fine tune it while I'm racing. It might just help dial it in just a little bit because I can go forward and backward with multiple settings just to see what feels a little bit better. So I'm pretty stoked to check that out. After we do a quick test run, I'll give you guys a little update on what I have planned for the rest of the build, because there's a lot of work to do on the bottom to get this full enclosure done. And then of course, there's a little bit of stuff that still needs to be designed and printed for the rig as well. So climbing in the rig, you guys could see that all the information around me isn't as distracting as it looks like it's gonna be from outside of the rig. You can see I have information on my right, my left, and up top. But if I'm focused on the road, it's all in my peripheral. The lights seem really bright right now because there's a lot of sun shining on the dash. But as I get out on the track, you guys will see that start to dim. And I decided to come to Nurburgring because I think it's just a good demonstration of all the different things that I've installed on the car. Plus, I just love driving this track. Still taking some time to get used to the 992.2, but I know the track pretty well, so I'm pretty confident that I can at least manage my way around it a bit. And really, I'm just looking for the shadows and the lighting and the overall experience. So since I don't have the car tuned, I'm not gonna push too hard because I don't want to be spinning out everywhere. Oh, or I could turn on the traction control that the 992.2 now has. But what fun would that be? Then of course there's getting used to the Club Sport DD Plus again, which honestly I really love the detail in this wheelbase. It just handles a little bit differently than the Moza did. This is where you're really gonna see that ambient lighting start to do its thing.
Oh, I love how that feels. It's just beautiful all the way around. Alright, so I know you guys don't want to watch me just drive a track, not racing, so let's talk about what needs to be done with this rig. So up to this point, I've pretty much been piecing the enclosure together. It's been a hodgepodge of different things I had laying around and cheap paneling that I could go buy. So in the old race room, I used chalkboard panels to black out the sides of the car. I've got those same chalkboard panels wrapped with some cardboard and stuff to make up the passenger side. It's basically just been a hodgepodge mess since the beginning. So what I want to do now is really make an aluminum profile frame and enclosure that matches the level that I'm trying to get this rig to, and that complements what I've done with the top half of the rig. So ultimately, if you guys don't know, the AB9 and the SimNet handbrake are loaners from Apex. They'll be going back to them at some point. I do have a shifter and a handbrake that I may want to install. So I'm thinking aluminum profile center console so that I can 3D print over the top of it, enclose the base of the shifter, and have it look really natural. That'll blend into an aluminum profile passenger side with either a 3D printed deck, or I'll figure out how to do the deck to look more natural and more like a race car. And then with that aluminum profile, I'll move it around to where it also supports building a proper passenger side door and enclosure over here. And then on the driver's side, pretty much the same concept. Aluminum profile with the foam I use for the roof to create a door card. And then I'm thinking where I would normally have a pull strap to open the door, that pull strap could open a little drop down door for a keyboard so that I'm not chasing my wireless keyboard all over the place. And so I can tuck it away when I'm racing. So I'm not, like, I don't want to be able to see a keyboard. I don't want to know that I'm in a computer or using a computer. I want it to feel like a car. So these are just some things I'm tossing around and kind of the direction I plan on going from this point forward.
With Cupcar 2.0 back on track and these updates out of the way, over the next couple weeks I can really focus on just getting the parts I need to build the lower part of the rig, getting the dashes designed, and getting everything finally buttoned up so that we can hopefully in the next 2 months move on to the Huracan build, which I'm really stoked for. If you guys are as excited about this build as I am, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. And if you're in the market for anything sim racing, I've got a good team of sponsors that have been helping me make this happen. Make sure you go check them out in the description. And until next time, I'll see you guys out on the track.